Hello K-pop fans. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today we will discuss the way MBTI, also known as the 16 personalities test, is used in K-pop. First things first, I am by no means a professional. I got into MBTI before I was interested in K-pop and ended up writing a paper about personality tests. That's why I know so much about MBTI. I am not a psychologist and I don't think I can properly assign types to any idol. So if that's what you're here for, this video is not for you, sorry. Back then, when I first got into K-pop, the way idols mentioned their MBTI types was so confusing to me. It's always, I took the test recently and my type changed. No offense to anyone, I know MBTI is a trend in South Korea. It's all fun and games, no one needs to write an essay about it. But I wrote an essay about it, lol. That's why I had to squint my eyes a lot when I first heard BTS discussing MBTI. Fortunately, some fans know about the type indicator and notice when something's off. An example for this is Stray Kids' Lee Know, who said his MBTI is ESFJ for a long time. Many stays didn't agree, while others reminded those fans that Lee Know must know himself better than fans do. This is just one example, I bet this happens all the time. People can literally vote and fight on personality database what they think a character's or celebrity's preferences are. Celebrities aren't fictional though. So in contrary to our beloved characters, they can actually speak up about their types. However, the majority of them did not study MBTI. That's why they get a result, read through it and then they're done with it. Most people do this. It's perfectly fine. Except that in the case of an idol, it causes minor disputes in fandoms. As someone who witnessed those silently, I want to offer another perspective on the way MBTI is used in K-pop fandoms. I don't even know if this topic is still relevant, so feel free to like and comment this video if you think it is. First, I am going to explain MBTI, because I think many people only know it as an archetype system even though it's mostly based on preferences. In the second part of this video, I'm going to talk about why mistyping commonly happens and how fans should treat this issue. MBTI Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. This explanation is very shallow, so MBTI nerds, don't get mad at me. At some point last century, the psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung wrote a book called Psychological Types, which he based partly on his experience with patients. The book pinpoints the 4 psychological functions, which are thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. You might already notice that some of your type's letters have similar names. But the 4 functions are not the same thing as your 4-letter stack. All of Jung's described functions could either have introverted or extroverted tendencies. Introverted functions focus inward, extroverted functions look at the outside world. Jung also said that every individual has all of these 8 cognitive functions. They can be sorted in different ways, but only connect in a specific pattern. 2 functions are always a couple. Feeling and thinking are opposites but also pairs. The same thing is the case for sensing and intuition. A function couple always has one introverted and one extroverted function. They can't have the same tendency. That's why our 8 cognitive functions can't be combined in thousands of different ways and only in, you guessed it, 16. All of these 16 combinations have a different order of their functions. All of them mainly use their first 4 functions. The first 2 of them give a type its name. If this is new to you, you might have noticed how complicated that system seems. Please don't think you're stupid, Jung also had some errors of the mind at times. If you think this is a bit complicated, Isabel Myers and her mother Catherine Cook Briggs got you. They basically transformed Jung's system into the MBTI you know today. We now have 4-letter stacks that either have 2 variable preferences. First comes either extrovertness or introversion. That's where a person gets their energy from. Secondly, intuition or sensing. Those describe how someone perceives the world. Are they a sensor and focus on tangible stuff or not? Then, feeling or thinking is how one makes decisions. And lastly, perceiving or judging are basically lifestyle. A perceiver is usually a mess and the judger probably in distress because they feel the need to plan everything. The 4 letters strongly suggest that a personality type is an either-or type of thing. Many people don't like that idea. That's why they prefer looking at the types as 8 functions.
That's basically how MBTI works. We're talking fundamentals here. I don't expect you to know all of this now, so I'm giving you one example. An INFP is a FINESITE. It's the same thing even if many people are not aware of it. Some of these unaware people are celebrities and in our case idols. K-pop feasts on MBTI, and for good reason. As soon as you find your own MBTI type, you notice that its description depicts your behavior rather well. So in theory, knowing an idol's MBTI type means you know more about their psyche, a part of them fans usually don't see, or at least not at first glance. If you know MBTI theory, you immediately know a bit more about someone who just told you their personality type. That you still need to get to know that person should be a given. Just because you're both ENFPs, you're not the same person. You're probably a bit alike though. And if it's not you and a friend but you and an idol, that's what makes all the difference. It's truly a special feeling to realize your bias took the MBTI and got the same type as you. At least I think it is. I never experienced it. Until Atiza-san said he's an INTJ now. I don't know him, I can't type that man, but the way he acts is very not INTJ. My fellow Atinis might understand why that instance alone made me want to make this video.
아니 산이 형이 J라고요? 말이 안 돼.
그러니까 그런 멤버가 있어. 그러니까 MBTI를 자기 성격이 아니라 자기가 되고 싶은 사람처럼 이렇게 하는 애들이 있어 가끔.
But in all seriousness, the human choice San might still be an INTJ. Who am I to be confused? If he's not though, why did he get that result in the first place? Why results can be wrong. The MBTI is not 100% scientific. It's not science in that sense that Jung never figured out the human mind in the first place. The only thing he did is that he created a tool to understand ourselves better. That's why MBTI and other personality tests should be understood as tools, not as rules. So now that we have that out of the way, why does the tool fail? 1. Personality test results are determined by our limited perception of ourselves. If we don't know ourselves well, the result can be odd. I don't think I need to explain this. Let a kid take the MBTI and they probably won't be able to answer well, because they lack self-awareness. That's perfectly normal and still happens to adults, simply because one can always have blind spots. 2. Preference answer systems make people choose weaker options and identify with vague claims. If you looked at the 16 Personalities website once, you should be aware of the questionnaire there. Other MBTI online versions have a similar layout. They give you agree, neutral and disagree, with different gradients. That guarantees a somewhat random decision-making process. You end up thinking, let's just take this, I don't care that much, because you're not sure about every question, but neutral is always the worst choice. You pick slightly agree. Fast forward 100 questions and you've only slightly taken the test. Additionally, there is the so-called Barnum effect, a bias that you should know from horoscopes. Horoscopes and personality tests only suggest personalities so generic that one ends up identifying with it, believing that it fits their own character really well. That's why people find themselves agreeing with some of the test's questions easily, especially when they seem to imply something positive, and that leads us to our third point. 3. People are less likely to admit that they are not good at something. The internet provides you with commonalities of each type in different populations. Sensors, especially the XSXJ types, are said to be very common. I have no idea where those numbers are from, but it's really odd that the online MBTI community is mostly intuitive. There are many memes, but if you're an ISTJ, the jokes are less for you and more about you. Part of that occurrence is probably that MBTI often asks questions that concern creativity or whatever people connect to intuition in their restrictive timeline. Obviously, sensors are creative as well, but who disagrees 100% when these questions phrase it so nicely? And who agrees 100% if that question sounds kinda annoying? You get the idea, right? Mistyping happens easily and is quite common. It's not a big deal. If you're not famous and tell your fans, usually no one cares about it. It's possible someone rejects their type too. I don't think that's what idols do, since they don't seem to care much, but people in the World Wide Web oftentimes do that. Hence, a reminder, no type is superior. All types are equal. Not a single one is better or worse than the others. Another important thing to know is that, even the MBTI community believes in different things. Idols treat MBTI like a thing you can come back to once in a while to check if your type has changed. A lot of people actually do that in a casual manner. Those are mostly people who didn't deep dive into MBTI. They believe an individual can have multiple types throughout their life. Most MBTI nerds, and yes, I'm saying most, believe a person has one personality type for a lifetime. They subscribe to the notion that an individual shapes and develops their cognitive functions, even the ones who come later in their functions pack. That's how people change throughout their lives in this scenario. It suggests that you're never changing entirely, you're simply becoming more yourself. That was a very vague explanation, but shows that there are different ideas of MBTI in different people's heads and none of these ideas are entirely wrong. Our idols usually don't know much about MBTI, they take the test and share the result with their fans to connect to them. Like the rest of the world, they are affected by biases which usually make the test result turn out false. That isn't a problem until some fans realize that there's a discrepancy between the idol's image and their newly assigned personality type. But, the results, fans perceive as wrong, could still be correct. Fans simply don't know the idol that well. The next time an idol or literally anyone spreads possible fake news by proclaiming their MBTI types, don't get upset and remind yourself of the fact that you don't know your idol. So be open-minded. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what we as fans believe about an idol's personality. It changes nothing to fight fellow friends from our own fandom, because we will never truly uncover the mystery of an idol's psyche, as disappointing as it may sound. Parasocial relationships are one-sided by nature, that's what we sign up for. Instead of making assumptions about a stranger's character, we should let our idols dictate their own personalities. And if you actually listen to people around you, you'll end up learning more about their truths. You don't need 4 letters to do that. I really hope this video was insightful. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.